So today I wanted to talk about closing costs on a mortgage. Let's talk about what those are and how they can be covered. So closing costs are going to be things like title policies, escrows and prepaid. So they collect a year of homeowners insurance up front and then put money in an escrow account. As you make your payment, it pays out every year. You're going to have appraisal fees. You're going to have points if you pay them. You're going to have underwriting fees. You're going to have processing fees. Those are all considered closing costs, okay? Those things exist in a loan. So traditionally, you're going to see, closing costs and title fees vary from region to region. Where I'm at in Utah, it's much cheaper than most places. We don't use attorneys, we use title companies. So that does vary, but those are traditional closing costs. In our market, we're probably seeing something around 1.5, 1.75%, which includes prepaid interest, which is the biggest cost typically. Okay. Now, how are closing costs paid? So a couple ways to get closing costs paid. There's a big myth out there, especially in the VA world, that you can roll closing costs into a loan. That is 100% not accurate. You can never roll closing costs into a loan. What you can do is the following. Suppose you want to buy a house at 300 grand and your closing costs are 5 grand. Well, what you can do is you can either ask the seller to pay 5 grand, or you can ask the seller to raise the price $5,000 and give you a credit back of 5 grand, or you can come out of pocket your own money. But there is no physical actual way to roll closing costs into the loan. Now, oftentimes a lender can do what's called a lender credit, where they basically premium price your loan and they raise the rate up to give you a credit to offset some of those costs. But when you see these advertisements out there that say, we're going to pay all your costs, traditionally when someone says that, what they're doing is they're padding the rate to cover your costs. Okay? Not always. Like a lot of times I'll swallow costs. You come back for refi, I'll eat the cost of an appraisal. Sometimes I'll cover part of title. But traditionally, when you've got these big national lenders that say, hey, we're going to pay all your closing costs, it's baked in somewhere. It's hidden in the rate. Okay? There is no such thing as a free lunch. So if you don't know what closing costs are, they are going to vary from region to region. Obviously, some states have transfer taxes, some don't. Some people use attorneys and some don't. Some people have property survey like the state of Texas has. We don't have those where I'm at. So they vary from place to place and they're percentage to percentage. In the old days, it used to be about 3% of the loan amount. I think 2% is a pretty good gauge. But again, you're going to want to talk to a competent professional in your area. I can turn you on to any of those. Obviously, we're licensed in 44 states. We can talk about closing costs because when you think about down payment's entirely different than closing costs, right? If you're putting 5% down on a loan, that's 5% plus closing costs. If you're doing 100% financing VA loan, that's 100% financing plus closing costs. Now, there is one caveat. Suppose the appraisal comes in high. If the appraisal comes in high, you can rework that contract and have the seller give you credit back. So let's say you're buying a $300,000 house, it appraises at 310. You could actually reach out to the seller and say, hey, appraisal came in a little higher. Do you mind rewriting the contract where we buy it from you at 307 and you give me a $7,000 credit? It doesn't cost them any more money and it benefits you. So if you've got questions about closing costs, if you've got questions about loans in general, reach out to me. Let me answer any and all questions you have. Let me show you why our platform is better, why we can get clear to close in as little as 10 days in most instances, and how we can help you save money. 801-979-6365. Look forward to speaking with you.